Gentlemen, you've been waiting for this event all semester. Some of you just found out about it today. Let's make some noise for Fishbowl presents Aquarium! That's it. What's up, everyone? I hope everyone's comfortable, ready to listen to some fun stuff. Yep. Good. Yeah. Hey, everyone. I am Johnny, the president of Fishbowl. I am Mike. I am the vice president of Fishbowl.
I'm Jordan. I'm the treasurer of Fishbowl.
I'm Sawyer. I'm the secretary of Fishbowl.
And if you haven't guessed, this is by Fishbowl. Fishbowl is a campus on UMass Dartmouth. We run a weekly open mic event where students, faculty, members of the community come and tell true stories based on a topic. But this isn't Fishbowl. This is a special event. This is Aquarium.
And Aquarium is a compilation. I got that word right.
Yeah.
A compilation of the most diverse stories that we have heard at Fishbowl over the past year since Fishbowl's inception. So we have 15 stories, all wonderful stories, and in between each story, we have the lovely, the wonderful, the average Tim Costa on drums. Yeah, great drums.
And then about halfway through the show, we're going to have a 5-minute intermission, and we're going to have an auction. And we'll be auctioning off some Fishbowl merch. It's going to be great.
Some of these stories, wow. Some of these stories are going to be actually lit. So in case of a fire emergency, there are fire exits to the sides, in the back. And if you're up top, they're there too, but why are you there? Come on down. All right, that's just about it. That's all we got to say. So we're going to kick it off with the first story. Sawyer, go!
Hello. My name is Sawyer Pollitt. I'm the secretary of Fishbowl. I take notes at meetings. I do things like that. I also do some gang shit, but that's for a different story. Anyway, this is a tale about wasted tax dollars. It's going to be about police incompetence. And it's going to be about one of the nights of my life. So, this was the summer before I started college here at UMass Dartmouth, and I was out with some friends, you know, as one does, and we went out to Profile Rock, which is in Massachusetts. Don't know where. If you do, great. I don't. And we're out there, you know, doing some illicit things, you know, like drinking, and, you know, some of the dank ganj. Anyways, we were out there, and it's a dark night. It's kind of cold, and we drive out. And to get on top of the rock, it's essentially a mountain. It's more of a hill, but it's made out of stone, so I'm going to call it a mountain. And there's this long, dark, spooky dirt path you have to go down to get there. And as soon as my friends saw that path, some of them were like, "Nope, we're getting out. We're not doing this. You know, I don't want to die tonight." They said. They didn't say that, but it's called embellishment. And so we walk up. The rest of us, the brave ones, the courageous ones, me included, we start to walk up and we climb this rock. I'm wearing really nice shoes, and I regret doing it because I messed them up. But we get up there, and I get a text from one of my friends who left early and said, "Hey guys, I found a ticket on my car." Ooh, it means the police are prowling, and that's spooky. If you guys know anything about the criminal justice system in the United States, you know that's scary. And so we enjoy our time there. You know, it's spending like a few hours. It's getting late. It's dark. It's like 2 in the morning at that point, and we all walk back down. We pile back in the car. And we pull out. We leave where we were parked. And as we're leaving, we see some lights behind us. Is it an ambulance? No. Is it a tow truck? No. It's the police. So we're driving along, and we said, well, we should pull over, because that's what you do when the police are behind you. We pull over. I'm sitting in the back seat. I'm sitting right in the middle. Some people call that sitting bitch. I like to. That's what it's called. And I just remember this. This is not rehearsed. I had a pizza on my lap. I don't remember why it was there, but it was warm, which is a good thing. Anyway, so the cops obviously pull over. Our driver is stone cold sober, just so you guys know. I make bad decisions, not dangerous ones. And we're sitting there, and the cop walks up, as a cop does. It's a female police officer. Love it. That's diversity. And she walks up and goes, "Hey boys, I just saw," and this car reeks of probably alcohol and the devil's lettuce. It's terrible. Thank you for laughing. And she comes up and she says, "Hey boys, you guys are pulled out kind of slow there, and your car kind of sputtered. I want to make sure the car's doing okay, and you won't be stuck out here on the dark and spooky road." She didn't say dark and spooky road, but she may as well have. And in the moment, I love it. I'm like, "Oh, thank God, I'm not going to jail. I won't lose my scholarships. Oh, that's so good." But thinking about it now, I'm a working class American. I work 9 to 5 sometimes, and I pay taxes. And is that what my tax dollars are funding? Police okay, if I was a cop, I would at least have given us a hard time. At least been like, just made it seem like I was going to just, I don't know, let's make a step out of the vehicle. Make us do something to show that at least you're trying. All she did, thank you. You guys be like them. And what happened was, she did nothing. It's infuriating. No. "Oh, Sawyer, you're being overdramatic. At least you didn't get arrested." Well, what if it wasn't me out there? They should have gotten arrested. They should have gotten at least a fine, at least a ticket. And if that's where my money is going, what? Okay. Anyway, we got home safe. We stopped at Wendy's. I got a burger. It's really good. I'm going to call it there for my story. I don't really have many more details to add. But I'm not done talking yet, though. There's no more details, but I'm not done talking. Okay, so I have to segue for about 1 minute. So I have to segue for 1 minute until the next person comes out. And so basically what a segue is I say something funny in between the stories. That way the show runs smoothly. So that's what a segue is. So for the future, you guys will know. And next up is Armani Marquez-Chavez. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Hi. So, get ready for a story that is my coming-of-age story. It is involving donuts, an arcade in the middle of the night, and racism. So, in the midst of my young 13-year-old life, I decided I really, really want to go on a trip with my best friend. My best friend, his name is Tighe. Me and him had been friends since this thing called Head Start, which is pretty much, hey, you missed the deadline for kindergarten, you're gonna have to wait a year. Anyways, so year after year, he always brought his friends to Martha's Vineyard with him. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, wow, I'm his best friend, but he doesn't bring me. What a dick. So, for whatever reason, I become 13. I just happened to ask him, and he goes, yeah, I've been waiting for you to ask. And I was like, this is gonna be the best. So, we're talking about the whole trip there, we're getting excited, we're in the car, Mom's annoyed driving us there. And so the entire time he keeps talking about this arcade that doesn't close until like around like 1 in the morning. And he's like, we're gonna go, we're gonna get the best tickets, we're gonna get the biggest prize you can get. And I'm like, sure, but also this is my first time at Martha's Vineyard, so please just let me adventure? And he's like, you know what, fine, whatever. We get to his grandmother's house. It's a huge house, mind you. And what I didn't realize was that the reason why he goes every year is that it's a family reunion for him. All of his like uncles, cousins, whole 9 yards go there to Martha's Vineyard, spend the night, and just kind of catch up on things that they missed out on. So I'm getting introduced to everyone, I'm enjoying it, whole 9 yards, you know, so I finally sit down, I'm meeting everyone for not breakfast, dinner. And we're all eating dinner, and I'm just chowing down, laughing it up, blah, blah, blah. And then I hear the door open, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, it's probably cousin, whatever. I take the biggest mouthful of brisket you can imagine, look up, and lock eyes with his uncle, and his uncle locks eyes with me and goes, oh, I didn't know Tighe was bringing one of his colored friends. Time to go. So at this point, I chow down as fast as I can, book it to, I excused myself to the bathroom, didn't go to the bathroom, went to our room, locked myself in there. Tighe, being the best friend that he is, doesn't check in on me for another about 2-3 hours. When he finally comes in, he's like, can you unlock the door? And I'm like, yeah, sure, come on in. He hurries in, I slam the door behind him, walkie. He's like, dude, what's up? I'm like, I think your uncle's racist. And he looks at me, he goes, nah, no way, it's my family. There's no possible way that he's racist. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. At this point, we're laying in our bunk beds and we're just kind of waiting, right? I'm waiting for sleep. He's waiting for me to do something so that we can go out and do something because, you know, hanging out with best friend. First time ever in Martha's Vineyard. At this point, I take out my little rinky-dinky track phone and I'm like, ooh, maybe I should tell my mom and say that I'm uncomfortable. I start typing in her number and go, wait, if I call mom, she's gonna want me back home immediately. She won't want me in this situation. So I put it back in my pocket, reached over the bunk bed and went, Tighe. He goes, what? I'm like, buddy, let's go to the arcade. And instantly hops out of bed, gets dressed. He's like, yeah, let's go. I'm gonna go get my grandmother. I'm like, no. Let's just go. And he looks at me and goes, yes, I know the way. We can walk it there. I'm like, solid. So we sneak out the window. Not a trace, right? Golden execution. Until I realized that after walking for a solid maybe hour or two in the darkness, he in fact had no clue where he was going. So at this point in my age, I take out my phone, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna press the dreaded internet button and deal with the wrath of my mom later for me using the internet on my phone, which is gonna cost minutes. Time reference for you, who knows. So I search it up, find out that we were about maybe a quarter mile away, but we just kept going in circles. So for a solid 2 hours, we were just walking in circles. At this point, I'm like, Tighe, we're idiots, let's just go. He's like, okay, whatever. We make it into town, we peek into the arcade, there's no one. We literally not see a single soul. We open the door, and we instantly hear, hey, hello? He goes, yeah, we're open for like another hour. You know what, you guys, there hasn't been any business for a solid like past 2 hours. Here's $20 on us. So we go berserk. We start playing all the games you can imagine. We start getting jackpots left and right. We're excited. We're like, you know what? Let's save these tickets for the rest of the weekend. At this point, I'm completely blacked out about the racist that's waiting for me back at the house. And then I'm like, wait, Tighe, I still have a little chunk of change. Isn't there a donut place around the side? And he goes, yeah, but I'm pretty sure that they close. And then he looks at me and goes, wait, they only close at 7 to open up at 10 at night because they're called backdoor donuts. You go around the back door, you order them fresh on the spot. They're delicious. I get an apple for about the size of my head, right? And I'm chowing down whole 9 yards. I'm as happy as can be. I'm a big boy. Tighe maybe weighs all of 80 pounds. So I eat non-stop. He maybe takes a nibble and goes, ooh, I'm full. And I'm like, Tighe, I just realized after I downed my second apple fritter, we gotta walk home before we get caught. And he goes, okay, yeah, sure, let's go right now. And I'm like, dude, I'm tired. No, come on. And he's like, okay, fine. There's a park on the way, because we search it up yet again on our phone. There's a park on the way. He swears that there's a bench. At this point, I'm like, I'm so angry at you for thinking you knew the way the first time, but I'm also so tired that I might take a nap on the bench. So we go. We get there, it's great. Whole 9 yards. So I'm sitting on the bench, right? And I'm like, Tighe, buddy, hear me out. I'm gonna take like a solid 10-minute nap, wake me up, and then we'll walk. He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'm like, all right, sweet. Pass out. I wake up to the sound of just me. What the? Me. I look over, there's a van. And I'm like, Tighe, I think something's like calling us or something. He wakes up, because he passed out, arms slung around me. And I'm like, dude, do you recognize that van? He's like, yeah, that's my grandmother's van. What? What do you mean? He's like, that's my grandma's van. I look over, and wouldn't you know it, the man driving the van, mean mugging me, is said racist from earlier, just laying on a horn, just anger. And I'm like, this is the day I die. I lived a good life. I ate a few good apple fritters really late at night. Solid. The van opens, grandmother's there, pissed, screaming, red in the face, you get your asses over here! I'm like, Tighe, we gotta get our asses over there. He's like, yeah. We both get up, and we start kind of moseying our way over. And then out of nowhere, I see a silver car pull up behind them and start laying on the horn itself. Tighe looks at me, smiles. I kind of get a glimpse of who it was when they pulled up. When they park, lock eyes with them. And it's Tighe's mom. And she yells, get in now before they kill you. At this point, I'm so young, I'm like, sure, get inside, home free.
Okay. So, unfortunately, that wasn't the only story involving racism. But the next one is the only story that we have tonight that involves a hamster. Give it up for Meg Sullivan.
Hello. So, as Jordan said, this is a story of my pet hamster, who I brilliantly named Hammy. In about 7th or 8th grade, I was so jealous of my best friend Abby because she had 2 hamsters and my mom was afraid of animals, so all I had was fish. And I would just name my fish the same name over and over again, and after my grandfather, which was Grandpa. So I was like, Mom, please, can I have a hamster? Like, Abby has them, they're so cool, and like, they're so friendly, and I get to pick them up, and we can pet them. She named hers, like, Jojo and Jack, or something like that. And she finally was like, all right, fine. Like, she just doesn't like furry animals. She was always scared of dogs. And I was like, yes! So I can get a hamster. So I asked Abby, I was like, yo, can you pick out, like, the same breed of hamster, like, that you have, so that we can have the same hamsters? So we went to Petco. Already the biggest mistake of my life. Go to PetSmart, people, please. Because Petco, no shame on Petco, but they sold me a demonic hamster. I saw the last hamster of the same breed that Abby had, and it was just sitting, like, you know, just chilling, like, in the little box, and I was like, that's the one! And so I noticed that the man who came to help me pick him up and put him in a box to take him home couldn't grab him. Like, he had to, like, scoop him up with, like, his little house or something and then just throw him in a box. And I was like, oh, okay. He's just a little excited. So I pick out all this hamster stuff and then I take him home. And I'm with Abby, we're setting up the cage and the bedding and the wheel, and it was like the coolest like little penthouse for a hamster. And so I noticed, since Abby could pick up her hamsters and we could play with them like all the time and just like have them lay on our chest and just like race them, I could not do that with Hammy. Oh my god. So I tried to pick him up, but like he just kept like, he was so just, yeah, like just so like limber and just slippery, and I was like, the hell? So I tried to pick him up, but he got away, and then I was like, Abby, you're the hamster expert, so can you try and get him? So she tried to pick him up, and he kept getting away from her too, and I was like, ah, man, like this sucks, like I wanted to hold and play with the hamster. And so she got a winter glove from my parents, and it was just like one of those like firm, thick gloves that like, you know, meant for snow and like dirt. And so she tried to pick him up using the glove, and somehow my hamster that I just got that day bit through the glove and made Abby bleed. And I was like, oh my god, this is a spawn of Satan. And I was like, what have I done? Literally, it's the first day I have this hamster, and he's already just causing mayhem. And I was like, great. So I'm like, this is why my mom's always right. And so I wake up one day, and so I wake up to my mom on a Saturday morning, and she's just shaking me awake. She's like, Bang! I don't know if there's a mouse or if your hamster escaped, but there's something running around down in the basement. And I was like, oh no. I was like, how did he get out? Great. And so I'm like half asleep, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I wake up terrified because my mom is the loudest person in the world. And so I run downstairs, I run in the basement, and nevertheless, it's my hamster just I don't know how he got out, because he was on like a table and then the cage. I think he just took like a leap of faith. I'm like, just, yeah, like freedom. And so I'm like, oh god. So I can't pick up this hamster. So I was like, how the hell am I gonna catch this hamster? And so literally my mom is just running around with a box like crazy, like, ah! And I was like, oh god. And so I haven't even had breakfast yet. I'm half asleep and I'm just chasing this little demon that's just like trying to get out of my house somehow. And somehow my mom just like scooped him up, and just his little legs like flailed and like landed, and he just like on his back in the box. And I was like, okay, we caught him. Escaped again. Even though I duct taped the tubes, I was like, how the hell is this hamster is just like a little spy, like trying to like mess with my life. So it was the most stressful pet I've ever had in my entire life. Get fish, people. And so I then one day went down in the basement, and I was looking around for Hammy in his cage, and I was like, I couldn't find him for a while. I was like, where'd he go? I was like, oh my god, please tell me he didn't escape again and actually get away with it. And so I finally look around the corner, and I see him just laying behind his little hut in the corner, and he wasn't moving. And I was like, oh no. And so I tried to like poke him, like just keeping my distance, don't want to get a finger chewed off. So I just poked him a little bit with like his little hut, and he just wasn't moving. And I was like, ah, man, like he's dead. And so I went upstairs. I was like, Mom, like Hammy's dead. And my mom was just like, oh, okay. So I'm like, Dad, Hammy's dead. And he was like, kiddo. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And so my dad goes downstairs with me, and he picks up my hamster. And I'm like terrified. I'm like, I've never picked up this hamster. I was like, please don't kill my father. And so then he picks him up, and he holds him, and we walk outside. I live across the street from railroad tracks, and my dad just was holding him and was like, Meg, do you have any like last words you want to say to him? I don't know. And I was like, I just pet his little head and I was like, all right, Hammy, you're a demon, but like, thanks for being my hamster, I guess. And so my dad was like, okay. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, my dad just takes my hamster, my dead hamster, and then just whips him across to the railroad tracks. And I was like, oh my God, Dad! And my dad's just like, you know, and I'm like, scarred for life that my hamster just, see ya, and like, and my dad just puts his arm around me and then just starts swaying back and forth saying, Kumbaya, my lord, Kumbaya. I'm like, this is my life. This is real. What is my life? And that is the story of my satanic hamster Hammy and how I guess I failed as a parent, but also failed as a hamster. So, thank you.
Thank you, Meg. The hamsters, right? Anyway, so this next story is a really touching and intimate and sensual one, and it's about fluids coming out of lots of different holes. Give all of it up for Trevor Robertson.
Hi, everyone. Can you let Daddy know when he has a minute left? All right, thanks. So I know mostly these stories going on have been relatively positive, relatively happy. This one isn't such a case. It's a story about demons, particularly my own, and it's a story of near-death experience. Just show of hands, I can't see anyone. Who's had a near-death experience? Solid. I was expecting a lot less. But this is a story of probably one of my most vulnerable states as a man, as a human. In this story, it's going to be broken up into two parts. It's going to deal with the dusk before the day, the happening, and the day where this actually happens. So before we start with the day before this even happens, I should probably prerequisite this with two things. One, I rarely get sick. I've had perfect attendance probably every year of my life, and if I haven't, it's because I wasn't sick. The second thing is I'm not a religious man at all. But both of those things changed last year. So the first time I got sick, not in general, but in a long time, was there was a stomach bug, I guess. Like, I don't know why. But it hits for like a day and then you're good. It wasn't like a stomach flu or anything. But when I look up to the light and I feel something going on my stomach, that's when I really start to question why. I start to question, who are you and why are you making me feel this way? What have I done to make you do this to me? So I just become a little bitch at 2 in the morning. This is Sunday. Monday morning at 2 a.m. I grab my blanket, I grab my pillow, and I sit next to the toilet bowl. This is what happens when I'm about to throw up. Now, this isn't a story about how I threw up, but ultimately what happens is I went through the whole phases of denial. I'm not going to throw up. I go through the whole bargaining. Come on, God, I'll pray every day, I guess. And then eventually acceptance and yada yada, I throw up. Phenomenal. And what do you do after you just throw up? Well, I'm probably pretty malnourished. I'm probably pretty dehydrated. Well, I'm probably gonna go eat and drink some stuff. Not just water. So I'm sitting and I've been triumphant. I've gone over my inner demon of throwing up. What am I gonna eat? Daddy's gonna go for some spicy salsa. Some chips. So it was extra hot salsa, so I start eating it, and I'm like, wow, who would have thought extra hot salsa was pretty hot? How do you deal with hot foods? Capsaicin, you want to get some lactose on it. Give me that dairy, dog. So I start taking some milk. And then I realize, maybe this isn't the best thing I should be eating after I just had a stomach bug. So I go on the internet, the Googs, and I look up what to eat, what not to eat, what you should eat. You should have bananas, you should have Tums, obviously have fucking Tums, don't have ginger ale, obviously. And then I start going down, what do you not have? Well, you typically don't have spicy foods. Okay, I hit that mark. And also dairy, those things, A, upset your stomach, and B, lead to my second inner demon. So this is now, I get 3 hours of sleep, and I am not missing my introductory physics class at 8 a.m. If you know anything about me, I do not miss physics class. So I start driving, and on my way, I start feeling something well deep within me. And it's not love, it hurts. It's a little imp this time. It's not a demon, but it's a little imp creeping up inside. And I'm like, no, not today, within my solar plexus. But I'm like, oh, I can make it. I can make it to class. And I sit down next to my friend, Michael Kilbride III. And I realize, hey, you ready to do some momentum? And he's like, heck yeah, dog, let's do some momentum. So I sit down and I realize 5 minutes into this lecture, I ain't gonna make it. I just get up and I run to the bathroom. What am I, okay, so now I'm in the bathroom. Wow. And naturally, I get very hot. And I'm like, what do I do? I'm getting real hot right now. And my first thought is, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. I'm gonna die here. First thing is, I'm really hot. I need I start taking off my clothes. I thought I'd get naked on stage. So I start taking off my clothes. But anyways, here I am, naked. I didn't even go to a stall. I didn't even have time to get to the stall. I'm like, ooh, I am hot right now. And have you guys ever been, I should probably get the mic now. Enough of that bit. Have you guys ever been in so much pain that you're like, I'm gonna throw up? Like, and you're clearly not gonna throw up, but you wanna justify the pain. You're like, and now I'm bargaining with God again. I'm like, you again. This time I want it to come out. Please. So at this point, it's about 5 minutes in, and I'm in the stall, naked, like not even underwear, just naked, and I'm starting to realize I'm gonna die here naked in the bathroom stall alone. And I'm grabbing onto this wall, shaking like vigorously, like I'm going to die here. But then, after 15 minutes of excruciating pain, the heartburn settles, and I'm like, oh, get there, let's go back, let's earn some momentum. And then I get back in there, and I realize, oh, round 2. But this time I'm prepared. I'm not dying alone in a bathroom stall. This time, I grab my keys. This time, I grab my phone in case I need to call someone. And I start heading towards the Tums. I start going to Walgreens. And I start listening to the Goog. So I make it to Walgreens, get the Tums, take the Tums, and calcium carbonate does what it does. And that's my story of battling my inner demons, having my near-death experience, and overcoming whatever.
Wow, that story really, like that was a real heart burner. That was a real. Well, here's another story it's gonna be red hot with the, and it's gonna fire. Jordan Vongsithi!
Get rid of burn your heart, I guess. Hello, my name is Jordan Vongsithi. I am a graphic design major, and here's a story of how being different is a good thing for me. So, I'm Asian. I don't know if you can tell from my everything, but I'm Asian. And for the first 2 years of high school, I went to a school that was very multicultural. It had really a perfect amount of whites, blacks, Hispanics, and Asians. So I didn't really stick out. Like, everyone just kind of stuck me with the Asians, and I was Asian, so I fit in, and I was happy. But after sophomore year, my parents decided to move to a different district, so I had to switch schools. And I attended Blackstone-Millville Regional High School. It's Blackstone and Millville because those are 2 towns in Massachusetts, and none of them have enough students in the towns to have their own high school, so they combined and collab on one. It was really small. And this school was different from my old high school in the sense that it was, we'll call it racially dominant. I'll let you guess what race was more dominant. White. So my first day of school, I'm nervous. It's like I don't know anyone there at all. And I'm just kind of like walking around trying to find my classes like before the actual like school day starts. And like people are like look at me like, oh hey, what's up? Like some of them are friendly. Some of them were like, oh hey, you're Asian? That one's also Asian. Like they were like, doing me a favor. They weren't doing me a favor. Like oh yeah, I'm sure you know this one. I didn't. But you know, as time grew on, I started like making friends because of my personality, because you know, I like to think I'm a nice guy. And by senior year, I was, not to my own horn, I was one of the popular kids. I peaked in high school because I was a nice guy. I was trying to be like a positive. I wasn't trying to be like mean. I didn't bully anyone. I was just, in overall, just a nice guy, I think. So, senior year, everyone knew me, and I got involved in things. I got involved in yearbook, newspaper, pep rally, honor society for a bit. So I was fairly like involved in the extracurriculars, but I wasn't great grade-wise. I did fine. I didn't do anything to like, you know, excel in classes, but everyone else did in my class, and it was established very early senior year who the top 10 students would be, because all the top 10s had 4.0s. All the top 20s had 4.0s. It was all just like 4.0000001. That made a difference. And one day during homeroom, well into like spring, the vice principal goes up on the intercom like, hey, will the following students please report to the main office? And then one by one he starts naming people, and it's all like the top 10 to no one's surprise. But then at the end he says a surprising name, Jordan Vongsithi. I'm Jordan Vongsithi. I wasn't top 10. What did I do? So I confusingly get out of my homeroom, I go upstairs to the main office, and I open the door to the main office, and all the top 10 are already there, and they look at me, and they have the same question that I have: why am I here? So the principal and the vice principal, they come out of their office and like, all right guys, come meet us in here, and they like take us to a conference room. And then they go, congrats guys, you all made the top 10. I feel like he didn't know I was there, but he kept like referencing us as the top 10. I wasn't top 10. And he's like, oh, you all made the top 10, and to celebrate your success and your achievements, we are gonna host a special like brunch for you. All the schools in the district are getting their top 10s to come together at this venue and then have a brunch and like celebrate your success. So one by one, hands them all invitations and details about the event. And then, just as everyone's about to leave, and I'm about to leave because I don't know why I was there, the vice principal goes, Jordan, wait up. So the top 10 all leave, and just me, the principal, and the vice principal. And the vice principal looks at me and goes, so Jordan, you obviously didn't make top 10, which is first of all rude. I could if I wanted to. I didn't want to be a nerd. And he goes, but we did decide to make you unsung hero. Cool. Great. What the fuck does that mean? So he proceeds to explain to me that the unsung hero is someone in the high school or like the community that isn't really recognized for like their contributions to this community and society. And in my head, I thought, oh, it's because I do yearbook and newspaper and I did pep rally and I'm like, you know, I'm fairly involved. I didn't think I was that involved to get the award, but you know, I got an award, whatever. So he goes, all the unsung heroes from all the high schools are also going, so you're also invited. Here's the details, here's the invitation. So I get the invitation, I go down to homeroom, and everyone starts asking me what the fuck I was up there for. And I have to keep explaining, oh, unsung hero, what is that? Well, it's someone who does this and this and this. Like, okay, that suits you, sure. So go home, tell my mom about it, and you can invite your parents over to the brunch. So my mom's like, all right, it's on a Saturday, so we can like, you know, go there instead. So a couple weeks later, the Saturday comes up, and you know, we all have to get dressed. It's kind of like a business casual event, and I'm going over, I'm driving, and I'm getting really excited because finally, like, you know, I'm recognized for like trying to be as positive as I can, trying to contribute to, you know, my high school, make it the best that I can. And like, finally, I'm being recognized. So we get to the brunch, and I walk in, and I walk to my table, and it's like, we sit with our high school, and there's like 20 seats, so 20 high schools, like maybe more or less. but essentially 200 students, all there celebrating their success and their achievements. So, the brunch is good. There's like croissants and like pasta and all that. It's good. It's a good spread. And then the host of the event like gets up on stage and is like, "All right, guys. Today or right now, we are going to one by one name the top 10 of every high school." And one by one did that, and then each student got like a few seconds for an applause, and it was really nice. And then goes through all the high schools. And he goes, "All right, now at this time, one by one, we will be asking the unsung hero to get up on stage and then have some words said about them." So the first unsung hero gets up, and this is where I learned that the principals of each high school prepared like a mini speech about their unsung hero. So first unsung hero comes up and just standing there like all proud for something, and the speech is read about him by the host. And apparently, this unsung hero did everything imaginable. Baseball, soccer, football, rugby. Played 3 instruments, did community service. Now, I don't do sports. I don't play an instrument. I litter. I don't know why I'm in this same, rank as him, but whatever. So, finally, the speech is over, everyone applauds, and he sits down, and then the second one comes up. And gets up, same thing, did all sports, did instruments, and, did community service, whatever. And in my head, as the second speech is being said, I think, what did I do to deserve this? And what did the principal write about me? So, it's my turn, I'm third up, and I'm standing there on stage in front of 200, more or less, people who are, academically successful, who contribute to their, community, and the speech about me begins. And I won't give you the details because I don't remember most of the details, but I'm going to summarize the speech about me. I got that Unsung Hero Award because I was a nice guy and I was Asian. I know it seems like I'm not, exactly getting detailed, but no, genuinely, from what that speech said, I got the award because I was different. A direct sentence from that speech that I remember, and I will always remember it because it was just so bad, was Jordan has brought diversity to our school. Mind you, there were other Asians in that school before I showed up there. I was just a different one. So I'm standing there as the speech going, and then slowly I'm realizing okay, it's about this. It's about me being Asian. And then finally the speech ends. Everyone claps, but I can tell it's an awkward clap. And it's yeah, good job. So I sit down with my high school, and all the top 10 look at me, and some of them are laughing their asses off, understandably. Some of them are sympathizing, oh my god, I'm so sorry. And I'm just I don't know, that happened. But then the icing on the cake of this all is one of the top 10 comes over to me and just starts patting my back Jordan, you work hard on being Asian. Good for you. And that's my story.
Jordan, I hope this isn't weird. I didn't know you were Asian. Yeah, no, seriously, we were all just talking backstage. I thought you were Dutch or something.
Really?
Yeah, do you guys not think this? Am I the only one?
Anyway,
no, I'm serious.
Next up on stage is Zachary Downing.
Good morning. All right, so weirdly, my story is the inverse of Jordan's. My story isn't as meaty as some of the other stories that we've heard tonight. I'm not going to regale you with a Lovecraftian tale of mythos and metaphor, but I hope it sparks as much discussion as the tale of those of old. So, for context, this was a high school trip I took to Europe with some of my classmates because I went to a private school and we're privileged. And so at the time we were in Paris, and Paris, it's like not the city of love that everyone thinks it is. It's not like dogs sucking spaghetti and shit like that. It's kind of ghetto. A guy tried to mug me by taking the phone out of my hand. It's basically Worcester with a tower. And so we were in the Louvre, which is not Worcester. It's a really famous art museum, if you're not aware. It has the Mona Lisa in it. Mona Lisa sucks dick. It's the size of a shoebox. It's like really overrated. And the funny thing about the room is, it's a giant room, and there's like 150 tourists looking at the Mona Lisa, giant rope around it so no one touches it. And behind that is like this big ass painting, like the size of the curtain, of like a heavenly war with like angels with little dicks and like spears and like bleeding Pegasuses. And it's amazing. And no one was looking at it because of the fucking Mona Lisa. And anyways, so after the Louvre, it was super crowded. We wanted to go to a better art museum. And we went to this other one called the Musée d'Orsay, which is French for the Museum of Orsay. And we were waiting in line, and we were all in line, and I was at the back, which is important because so I was standing there, and there's this tall, middle-aged Frenchman behind me, and he's kicking around, waiting for the line to move. There's a metal detector, and he wanted to start a conversation with me. So he turned to me, he like poked me in the shoulder, I turned around, and he looks at me and he says, "Are you Asian?" And like, I was so taken aback by that question that like, normally I would have like a witty comeback or something like, a question about the question. But I said, no, because I'm not. And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought because of your eyes." And, and like, I was like, and this is my reaction, I went, and I wheeled around, and I just like stood there staring ahead like a non-veteran, like, what the fuck was that? And like I had more questions about that interaction than there were words in the conversation. Like, for instance, why the fuck did he ask me that? Why would you ask anyone that? Like, was he an alien on our planet gathering intel? Like, I'm learning. Or maybe he's like a really shitty undercover cop that had just heard like, no, we have a bank robbery. A suspect is 5'10" Asian, and he's like, oh fuck, I have no idea what an Asian person is. Or maybe he had a blonde friend named Asian, like some context. Or maybe I was talking about Cheech and Chong and he thought I was speaking Chinese. Like, I don't know why. But then as I stood there, I was like, what other angles could this be? Like, what if I was an Asian kid? What if I was an Asian kid standing there waiting to see the museum, and he's like, "Hey, are you Asian?" And I go, "Yeah." And then what does he say? Is he like, "Oh, I know him when I see him." Like, I don't know what his plan was, and that's the time I was racially profiled.
Thank you, Zack.
It's funny because Zack Downing looks a little Asian. Right? Going back to you don't look. I've met a Dutch person, and you kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, who? You look a little Dutch. Zack looks like, you're agreeing with me, right?
No.
John's right.
Not
Yeah, I'm right. He said it.
Okay, sure.
Tap your fingernails together for Jillian Yates.
Some hefty fingernails people got.
All right. Well, there's no way I'm gonna top that, or that. Well, let's just go for it. Okay. It's April. April is my favorite month out of the entire year, and it's because it's National Poetry Month. And I learned a long time ago that poetry is the healthiest and most productive way for me to express my emotions, and I have a lot of emotions. So poetry is very important to me, and it's such a major part of my identity. If you ask me what I do, I will tell you I am a poet, even though that's wicked lame. But recently a friend of mine asked me, like, when did you start writing poetry? Like, how did you discover that you liked writing it? And I just did not have an answer for him because I just had never been asked that for
first of all. And I mean, I have always been writing, as far as I can remember, but it was like short stories for like class assignments and fan fiction in my spare time. And I never really marked that jump from stories to poetry. And so I thought about it, and I came to the realization that I first learned how to, first discovered my love for poetry when my high school boyfriend taught me how to write raps. Yes, raps. So my high school boyfriend is probably like exactly what you're imagining, like an average looking white boy, gym class hero, wore basketball shorts every single day. Like literally the only time he wasn't wearing basketball shorts was on prom, and he would if he could have, but I was not having any of that. And he never wore a jacket. I don't think I've ever saw him wear a jacket because he never got cold, which I mean, fair enough. And he was like really obsessed with cars, especially his 98 Del Sol. It was red and lowered, and the wheels were tilted for some reason, and he had like holographic lugs and like a custom gear shift and the whole 9 yards. He really loved it, spent a lot of time and money on it, and he liked to write raps. His favorite spots to, spit bars were the nursing home kitchen where he worked, and his mate's garage, I suppose. So I was so infatuated with this boy for obvious reasons, and I flirted with him the only way I knew how, and the only way I know how to flirt with someone is by telling them that what they like to do, I can do better. Really shit banter. That's how you know if I like you. So we were messaging one day, and he was telling me like, whatever, sick rhyme he thought up off the dome piece, as he called it. And I was like, oh, that rapping thing you do, I could do that so much better than you. Like, I could do that. And he was like, logically, all right, then, write a rap, prove it. And I was like, no. I wasn't really expecting that response, and because I was just like, no, I'm gonna shut that down right here. I've never written a rap, and I do not plan on starting right now. And he was like, all right, well then, don't talk shit. Excuse me. How am I meant to flirt with someone if I can't talk shit to them? Like, how am I supposed to relay the information that I, like them? And so that kind of threw me for a loop, and I decided right then and there, like, this is it. If I need to continue doing this, I'm gonna have to write a rap. And I did. And it was really bad. But he was encouraging, surprisingly enough, and it turned into a thing that we did. We would write raps back and forth to one another, and it was a way for us to like flirt, and it was just a lot of fun. And he actually taught me a whole lot about rap. I mean, as much as a 17-year-old white boy can teach anyone about rap. So, I mean, he was encouraging, supportive. If a rhyme scheme was particularly impressive, he would say something. If I used the word penetration, he'd call me out on it. If my meter was clunky, he would say something. I mean, he wouldn't use the word meter because he didn't know what that was, but he would be like, hey, the rhythm is shit. And that's fair enough because I have no rhythm whatsoever. So I would be like, okay, that's a fair point. I'm gonna, take a note of that and do better next time. And yeah, we just did that, and it was a lot of fun. He made it fun, and we would just call each other out in like our lyrics, like we were actual rappers with beef, and we had like our own rap names too. Like, I don't remember what his was, but I was Lady Killer. For whatever reason. And so yeah, and it was a lot of fun. He taught me a lot, introduced me. I wasn't really a huge fan of rap music at the time, but he introduced me to like some underground artists like Snow the Product and Logic back when he was new, and even some more mainstream stuff like Eminem, because white boys love Eminem, and it's true. So eventually we broke up. Aww. And I stopped writing raps because it brought me like too close to what the relationship was. But I still really loved that style of writing. I thought it was really fun, and I liked, you know, working with rhyme schemes and, you know, rhythm and figures of speech and wordplay and all that stuff, and I wanted to continue doing that. So the next step for me personally was poetry, because it was close enough to it where it's like practically the same, but a little more different, where I didn't feel that I was, you know, still connected to him in that way. And so yeah, that's how I started writing poetry. And you know, when I first made this realization, I was like, well, shit. My craft, my one true passion, the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life, was introduced to me in a way by this ex-boyfriend who, you know, the relationship wasn't great, the breakup was even worse. And it was kind of just like a, fuck me, super, but like another second went by and I was like, well, that's fine. It's been long enough where I don't harbor any like hard feelings towards him, and I mean, I can appreciate that he made this contribution without, you know, having to think about him every time I write a poem. So it was, it was, how am I gonna word this? Didn't rehearse enough. It was a really scary initial realization, but now I really can appreciate this major contribution he made to my life, and I will always be indebted to him for that, but everything else is a fucking day. So I want to end this by sharing one of my raps from long, long ago. It's not good, but I've had much more practice, so just bear with me. Okay, here we go. 6 minutes late, gotta run to class. To graduate, gotta take stats. With Murph, he's a class act. Better yet, he's got a class ass. And I'm getting that A while you're snoozing, partying, vaping, bring your own booze in. I'm sorry, but you're about to lose in this joint, because I'm finna blow this fuse. In time, you might be able to beat him, still rhyming to shit to penetration. While I'm conquering all the nation with my rhymes, yeah, they're pure temptation. I'm a sensation, the Lord's reincarnation. Words, lines, I've got the foundation. Now I'm sure you're full of frustration while they give me a standing ovation. I'm so sorry the bell had you waken. This took so long because I was breaking. But your curiosity, I will be Satan. When we're in your car, there's no breaking. Late. And there you have it.
That's fire if I've ever heard any. So, gonna be honest with you. This next story coming up, we just trust him. He hasn't told us what it's about or what it's gonna be. We have an idea, but
this man is a wild stallion, and I can't wait to hear his tale.
And you know what they say. You can't lead a horse to water,
but they once they get there, they got it. All right. Next up, put your feet together for Patrick Medeiros.
Everybody here from the 313, put your motherfucking hands up. 8 Mile. I can't see anybody, these lights suck. Alright, if I look sweaty, it's because I parked my car at 85 miles an hour because I was late getting here, and then I took a deluge of a crap when I came in the building. But we're gonna be okay. Can you play me out to Killing in the Name when I'm done? It's just a D. It's fine. This is, like they said, y'all are my, what is it, a herd of horses? A flock? We're gonna get to the river, you can drink if you want, I don't care. There will be something to be gathered from this. I lived in Lisbon for 5 months a few years ago, and it's a tired subject, but so many evil things happened to me while I was over there, and I did even worse things that I can't speak of until statutes of limitations, all that. So this thing was done onto me, and it was weird because it was as a man, a white man, I'm pretty secure in my situation. So when my, how would you say, So when my comfort gets jolted, it's a real thing. It's a really rehearsal. So we'll get to it. Basically, I was living in this hostel, and people would come and go, and some people that would live there actually worked there, you know, for living arrangements and all that. And this particular day, I'm sitting in the lobby reading a book, and this new girl comes in, and she just started working that day. Her name was what was it? I don't know. We'll call her May, because I think that's what it was. But she was disarmingly beautiful. She had a face like a chipmunk, and these sweet little almond eyes, and she had gams like the Parthenon. It was, she had power. And she came in, and she was talking to people. She was very sweet. She had this lovely lilt to her voice, and her French accent was not so thick that, you know, you thought she was from Worcester. And one day I started, you know, chit-chatting with her, and we hit it off because I have a knack for bringing people into my life that really don't deserve it. So I saw this girl, and I made the intention in my head that I was going to try, and, you know. And so we got to talking, we hit it off, we had mutual interests, we both wanted to go see the new James Bond movie that was coming out, and we made plans. We'll go see it this weekend, Friday. Does that work? Okay, great. And I was very excited for this because it seemed so seamless, I guess. She just took to me right away, which I don't trust anymore because, wow, this went wrong. So this particular day, the day after, the day before we were supposed to meet, I lived on the 4th floor, and I'm running down the steps to get out into the city to go, you know, score street drugs, chase cats, you know, these sorts of things, grab an espresso. And she was coming up the stairs at the same time, so we met, and we stayed this close for some reason. And she whispered to me, she goes, "Am I going to see you tomorrow night?" And I said, yeah, sure. And I kind of took that hint as, all right, there seems to be some tension here. So, good. We'll diffuse that eventually. And the next night, I took, 3 trains, several stops, sat in a puddle of piss in the seat that I was on to get to where I was supposed to meet this girl. And when I arrived, she wasn't there. She wasn't answering her phone. I had this little track phone piece of garbage that I was nervously playing Tetris on to, pass the time because I was very nervous that I, missed my chance or that she, came to her senses. But then I get a text, here, which she screwed up the spelling of that, here. And it was fine. I run up to the street, and there she comes down in this clingy velvet red dress and this sauntering drunken that wasn't good, was evident of bad times to come, and a guy on her arm, on her left arm. It was another Frenchman, a small fellow, and he just looked at me confused. I looked at him the same way, and I looked at her, and she's not really looking at anything because she is drunk. Oh, she's so drunk. She's a mess. And I think, well, I guess we'll just go get a drink. I'm not going to the movies. She introduced me to the guy. I am not one for the... Nah, that's not true. I let it ride because I thought, this is already a very odd pairing, so we'll just see how it goes. She insisted that we go to this bar/sexy book place down on the main street. I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically just a lot of large leather seats and expensive drinks and pornography on the bathroom walls. It was cool, very hip, very niche, and I wasn't enjoying it as much as I should have because she was just not there. She was not cognizant. Homeboy wasn't having it because he didn't expect, the third hombre to show up, and I made the mistake of buying her a $15 drink, him a $21 drink, and me, I sat there just stewing. So I made up a lie that my friend was drunk up the road and he was climbing a statue, which we'd done weeks before, but now I was, manipulating that lie. So I told her that, and I said, I have to leave. She goes, oh, no, wait, and I said, yeah, bye. I left, and I went home, and I told them, I said, oh, shit, and she was just drunk, and she came with another guy, and that's okay, night lost, what are you gonna do? Things happened, I went to bed, and I had this dream that someone broke into the apartment where we're all staying, and crawled into my bed. And when I realized that it wasn't a dream and that it was May, even drunker than I left her 5 hours before, had broken into my apartment, crawled into the room and into my bed, and expected to just stay there. And I thought, oh, okay, what's happening here? How did you get in here? She goes, I just want to sleep with you. And I go, no, you're very drunk. We're not gonna do that. She goes, I just want to sleep. And I go, yeah. And I just got mad. I got very angry, and I said, yeah, me too, God, and I don't need you here to help me sleep. Get out! Get out! And I woke up my roommate, and he just looks over and he's like, you didn't go to sleep with her in your bed. And I said, I know, it's very distressing. And I usher her out, politely but terse, like very curt, have a good night, I guess. I show her out. And I realized this one is wackadoo. This girl is crazy, and that's why she likes me so much from the beginning, and that's my curse. So I just told myself, I'm gonna have to let it go. That's fine. The next night, everyone was going out. She was going too. I wasn't. She was drunk again, and she insisted. She implored us. She implored all my friends to make me go. And I said, all right, I'm not buying any drinks and I'm not listening to any of your shit, lady. I was being very mean to her because she was being very needy, and I don't think I can handle that. I think it's a problem in myself because I'm needy. So she's going, Patrick, why don't you want to talk to me? Why are you being this way? I go, mate, listen, you're fine, but just be fine over there. Go, I can't. You're dangerous. And the night goes on. We go downstairs. We get to this liquor store, and she buys me a beer, which she presumed by my taking it meant that I wanted to listen to everything she had to say during the 20-minute walk to the bar, and I didn't. So I just ignored her, and she's just saying, "You know, you're like my dad. You don't listen." Ah. And I'm just going on, chain smoking, because I'm flicking the cigarettes at her. I keep missing, and we finally. I passed her off to my friends. I said, guys, please just distract her for a second. And I just went ahead. I got to the bar first. I took my seat, and it turned out to be a fantastic decision that I went, because I managed to evade her for most of the night because it was very busy. And we went to this bar that had 3 different distinct rooms. One was like a large basketball court where people just sat outside and breakdanced and smoked and drank and played soccer. Inside was like a diner. They had a bar and all that. Into another room, basically there's a breakdancing competition going on. Me and all my friends are having the most riotous time. It's just beautiful because people are. It's one of those moments where not a person in the room was concerned with anything other than the great time that they were having. And there's just people breakdancing, dudes. And then all of a sudden, and I've been paying minimal attention to May the whole night, and I'm realizing that no one else is either, and I'm starting to feel bad because she's getting drunker and sloppier and more erratic as the night goes on. We've been there about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and she falls down legs up, skirt flowing, and people are, oh, pulling out phones, laughing, and I didn't. I wanted to. I did laugh, and I ran to her, and I picked her up, and I said, we're leaving, because and she gets, what's the word? She gets indignant. She's like, you're not my father, and I know, we've established this. You're not my dad, you can't tell me, I'm having a great time. I go, have a great time outside. And she starts to leave without me. I wanted someone else to take her home, so now I'm taking her home. Because guilt, that's the word. And the whole time, on the way back to the apartment, I managed to keep her quiet by telling her, stories, just little anecdotes, and she's listening intently. Oh, okay, oh. And we finally get to the apartment. I get her to her room, and I tell her, lay here, I'll be back. Oh, shit, okay. So, we got to the building, and by then she was starting to make moves on me. She wanted to sleep with me, and I wanted no part of it because multiple factors. She's drunk, she's annoying, I'm emotionally unavailable, and I'm tired, and this is just a wacky human being to be involved with. And I leave her in her room. I go up to the floor above to go meet with somebody, and then I hear slamming, I hear yelling, Patrick! Where are you? Patrick! And she goes, skips the floor I'm on, runs up to the 4th floor where I live, and I know my friend John's up there, and I scream up the stairs, John! Don't let her in! Lock the door! She pushes John out of the way. John is this tall. Pushes him out of the way, goes into our apartment, and locks herself in the bathroom. That went on for about 90 minutes. We're at about 2 in the morning now. She refuses to get out of the bathroom until I have sex with her. I don't like this situation. And everyone else finds it hilarious. They're like, dude, just fuck her, come on, get this over with. I'm like, no. Lock her in the room, safe. And the night's going on, she's getting more and more boisterous and violent, and she starts pushing people, and she falls down the stairs at one point. Basically, we're just playing cat and mouse, trying to keep this girl from, banging her head on something sharp-edged. And I eventually I managed to quarantine her in the kitchen and make her eat rice. And she's just glaring at me from the corner. Like, I'm there, she's eating her rice, stewing, and I just, every time she stops eating, I look at her and I go, and she's about to say something like angry at me, I go, shut the fuck up, eat your rice, shut up, you're a child tonight, you're a little girl, and you're gonna get treated like one, because this is not how adults behave. And she's so angry, because I'm being a dick, but I'm being a dick because it's time. And it's going on. Eventually, I leave her to her devices. She goes off to her bedroom, and I go back upstairs, and it starts again. The rumbling, the slamming of doors, and she decides she's going to go back out. So now I have to keep her from leaving the building. It's going on and on and on. She's trying to push me out of the way. Eventually, me, her roommate, Angela, and John, we get her back to her room, get her in bed, and she quieted down eventually. The next morning, I woke up, I went straight to her room, and I asked her, hey, what'd you do last night? She goes, oh, I can't remember really. Do you know what I did? She goes, before she answered, I kept your ass alive because you do not know how to handle yourself, your liquor, your dignity, for fuck's sake. And I made her feel really bad. And in turn, I felt really bad. She left the country the next day. She was supposed to stay there for like 3 months. And I didn't know how I felt about her for the longest time until I realized that incessant nagging, annoying badgering of people that you're interested in sexually is not a good thing. It's really demeaning, and it's unnerving, because for that whole night I felt like 1 part babysitter, 2 parts piece of meat. And I suddenly realized, there is something to be learned from me as a man who's always been very forward with women. There's something to be learned from this, because there's no reason for anyone to feel the way I felt last night. Not so much annoyed that I had to deal with her nonsense, but the fact that she just wanted to sleep with me, and I just wanted her to be okay, make her feel bad, but be okay. And ultimately, I think that brought me down a few pegs in terms of my. I don't know, every man's got a little bit of, what's the word? Not misogyny.
What?
The C word. Not that word. Not chivalry. Not chivalry, you son of a bitch. Chauvinism. Thank you. And ultimately, don't sleep with drunk people. Take care of people. And no means no. Bye. Killing in the name.
All right, thank you, Patrick. This is now intermission. If you need to go pee or whatever, I don't care. Don't tell me about it. Please do that. Can we get the house lights on just so people can see? At the same time, we're running a little behind schedule. We want to make sure we're all out of here around 8. So we're just going to start the auction right away. And then once the auction's over, we're going to kick it back off. So, Jordan, would you please whip out the first auction item? Uh-oh, is it the shirt that everyone's wearing? Mike's going to be our auctioneer. He's going to describe the whole situation. Mike, how much are we selling it for?
100 pennies. We're talking $1. Can I see $1 for this beautiful shirt that we sewed ourselves?
$1.
$1.
$2.
$2?
$3.
3?
4.
$4. Oh, I hear 4.
Hi, Mike.
Do I hear a 5 or above? Or do I just hear a 4?
I'll go 6.
$5. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Get owned.
I hear a 6.
I'll go 7.
I hear a 7.
I'll go 10.
I hear 10.
All right. Cool. I'll go 11. Yeah, well, I want another one. 12.50.
I say it's 12.50.
12.51.
12.51.
You better have this exact change.
Damn it. I have 13.
13. Do I hear 14? Or is it 13?
Wait, shit,
13
what's
going
size?
once.
14 isn't bad.
What's that?
I'll do 14.
14 going once.
It's not bad.
14 going twice.
15.
15 going once. 15 going twice.
You're wearing the fucking...
Sold to the man for $15.
Oh my God, Trevor, you're wearing the goddamn shirt. That's how you get bartered, boy. You got change for a 5.
We have 2 more things to give you all lovely. Jordan, please whip it out.
Oh, you've seen it in campus.
That's me! I'm right there!
We can even sell it for you.
Yeah, a giant poster. How about that? You can hang it somewhere. Mike, how much?
This one's worth way more than the shirt, but we're still gonna have fun with it. We're talking 100 pennies. I'm saying $1. Can I see $1 for this beautiful poster? $1. $1.
$2.
I did 2. $2.
I don't have any money.
3? Yeah, it's not a.
Where does it go?
No, we don't.
Except high fives.
Bitcoin.
Maybe on the $5 over here. $5 over here.
5.
$6 over here.
$7.
Oh, $7. He's counting. He's got it. I can see it. 10. That's not real. I $10 hairs or $7. Is that a $10 or $10?
Like hearts, and that's what you knew. Me and Dentist, we were getting along all right, and she introduced me to her friend, and her friend's name was Curls 8. There's a triangle going on, you see. So Curls 8, I shit you not, was probably the 8th Curls ever. Me and Curls 8, we got along, so much so that I started hanging out with her more than Dentist. And eventually, sob story, I broke up with Dentist. Me and Dentist were over. It was Curls 8 and I now. All right, so Curls 8 and I were dating. As a situation, she was cool as shit. She had like her penguin, like the penguins the whole time, guys. She had like emo hair and like a black sweater, and so we were the cool people running around, and I was a moderator, and it was sick. And like she introduced me to all of her friends, and it was a good time. Unfortunately, I consider it my first relationship because it lasted months, right? This bullshit shouldn't last months, but it did. We talked, we had conversations. Eventually, her and her friends introduced me to a new method of communicating on the internet, which was this chat service called XAT, Zack, I don't know how to pronounce it, Exat, I don't know. So we moved from Club Penguin to that. But, you know, she still considered Club Penguin girl. We sometimes hung out in Club Penguin, you know, flip pizzas. But we would have conversations there. It was alright, it was cool. No Disney chat, so I could say, hey, what up? We were in like group chats with lots of friends. Sometimes when I was feeling extra flirty, no sex, extra flirty, I would like, me and Curls 8 would enter like a private chat and be like, hey, what's up? Hi. Heart, no sex. The story, it gets a little weird from here because it just goes on. It's just a relationship, nothing super special, and we don't even know each other. This could be an 80-year-old man with no balls. I don't know. I could be an 80. I do just want to I'm touching on this because there's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me and I've ever done was in this chat because if you don't know, if you're like in 6th grade and like you are texting someone and if you want to like demonstrate an action, you put it between asterisks. So if you're like if you want to hug someone over the internet, you put asterisk, hug, asterisk, right? And the worst thing that I've ever done was asterisk Naruto runs and kisses you. Naruto runs and kisses back. So, I mean, really the story, it should end there, because I left, naturally, I left. I entered middle school and I was like, this is weird, and I left. I just left, I just up and bye. Bye Kelly, that was a real name, so it was. Like I said, the story should end, but it doesn't, because I was a senior in high school. When I wasn't even a senior, I graduated. I was on my way to UMass Dartmouth. It was like August, and I'm Skyping with my friend Sarah, and we're like, hey, remember Club Penguin? Wouldn't it be really funny if we just logged online and just, you know, made pizza? And we logged online, made pizza, and a little bubble shows up, and it says, Curls 8 is online. It's been like 7 years. What the fuck's she doing on this specific day in August? And like 2016, Curls 8 and I, worlds apart, think the same exact thing. We go to the pizza shop. We're like, oh, emo, like, oh my god. And we start just like saying like garbage, like bubbles, like because we can't say anything else. And she starts saying nonsense like, what is your sky pet? What is your sky pet? I'm like, what is she talking about? She is so smart. That was code for Skype. Sky pet. Oh my god! So I start texting things like jump, like Osiris, like just like spelling out my name and Skype, and we added each other on Skype, and we added each other on Facebook, and she was real. She wasn't an 80-year-old man with no balls. I was in a relationship at the time, so it's not a love story you think it is. Until the next year, and I keep in contact with Kelly. She's cool. The next year, it's like June 20, maybe now it's 2016? Yeah, this time it's 2016. I had left the relationship I was in, we're texting, and she's like, I'm in Pennsylvania, I'm like, I'm in Massachusetts. Let's meet in New York. And so we had a first date in New York just somehow. And a relationship bloomed from there because she was great, she thought I was great. It was so cool and sweet, and honestly, that was the first time I was ever convinced I met my soulmate. It's like, fuck man, I met this person 7 years ago at Club Penguin. What are the odds? Like we went to Toys R Us and like held up a Club Penguin toy and took a picture. It's on my Instagram. Unfortunately, the relationship ended and love is dead. Thank you, that's my story.
Hey, what's up? You know, Johnny, we've had a lot of laughs tonight, right?
That's right. I've laughed once.
Yeah, we're having a good time.
Yeah, sure.
Unfortunately, it's time. Well, not unfortunately. You know what? It's time to bring it down a little bit. we're gonna get into everyone's hearts just a little bit.
We're about compelling stories. We're about heartfelt stories. We're not just here for laughs, right? Fishbowl's not just about laughs.
That's right.
So if you could please tap your phalanges together for Tighe Ratcliffe.
Do I get a mic? No. Yes.
Hello. Oh, wow. Hello. I am the aforementioned Tighe Ratcliffe. I am not the Tighe in Armani's story, although coincidence, I think not. Me and Armani are pretty good friends. So, you know, I got tattoos. You think I'd be a tough guy, but I came prepared because I'm probably gonna cry. Especially because my grandmother just died the other day, but that's besides the point. So I'm a little bit emotional right now. So this is a story of my my last good year with my dog. Any dog owners in the audience? Yeah. The most painful part about having a dog. Dogs are great. I want another dog now, but that's just not in the cards. But most painful part about owning a dog. I'm gonna sit down. The most painful part about owning a dog is saying goodbye. And I had quite a doozy with my dog. So my dog's name was Buddy. He was, you know, generic good dog name, but he was the best dog ever. I'm serious about this. I got him when I was like 10, and I'm a very emotional person. I have like autism and stuff, and so when I was growing up, he was my best friend. He was a little mini schnauzer, really cute dog, and towards the end of his life, like the last year, he got Cushing's disease, which led to diabetes, and shortly after he got diabetes, he became blind, and we'd have to like give him insulin shots each day, and we would have to, once he became blind, we had to like clean his eyes out each day, a couple of times. And at the beginning of this, I didn't know how much longer I would have with him, so I told him, Buddy, you've been my best friend for a long time, just give me one more good year. And during that year, I'm comfortable talking about this because I've had a lot of therapy, but I'm suicidal. I still am a little bit. It's rough. But I would come home each night, and I'd make sure that I came home safely, just because I promised him, if you're sticking around for me, I'm sticking around for you. And so I did, and I'm still here. Buddy isn't though, but I'm here because of him. Oh, sorry. Each day was a different struggle. You know, I get up in the morning, take care of him, take him outside, clean his eyes out, give him his food, give him his insulin shot, then come to school, come home, and then after a long day of hard schoolwork, all I wanted to do was like cuddle up with my dog. And so I'd pick him up, put him on my chest, and he'd fall asleep on my chest and stuff. And you know how dogs dream. You see their little paws moving and stuff. Well, you know, especially now that Buddy couldn't see, those times when he was dreaming, those were when he could see, you know. And those were probably some of the most special times in my life. Definitely the last year with him was probably the time where we became the closest. This is after like 13 years of being best friends and stuff. And throughout it all, he was always there for me, and I was always there for him. Towards the beginning of the school semester, I ended up like dropping quite a few classes. I only had one class left, and during those weeks, those like last few months, I would spend just all my time with Buddy because I didn't know when it was going to be the last day with him. And so I'd play Skyrim on my Xbox in my room, and I'd just have him like lying right next to me, and we'd be like that for like hours. And it was some of my most fondest memories with him, because there's just that closeness that you get with your dog towards when they get really old. The best dog is an old dog, in my opinion, because they've got the most love, they've got the most kindness and patience. And so, as I got better with my depression, Buddy started getting worse with his health. He'd have more vet visits and stuff. It got really hard to get him to eat food and stuff. And come Christmas time, things were getting really hard with Buddy, and I knew it wasn't long. And so the day after Christmas, the 26th, we took him to the vet because he hadn't gone to the bathroom all day and stuff. And so, when a dog doesn't go to the bathroom, that's getting towards the end. And the vet gave him a clear bill of health, considering all the things that were wrong with Buddy. And the next day, this is probably when I'm going to start crying. The next day, it was the 27th of December, this most recent December. And he refused to eat. And so if you know anyone with diabetes, they need to eat at particular times. They need to have a certain amount of food. And Buddy refused to eat. And I just knew that this was it. This was the day that I'm gonna have to say goodbye to my best friend since I was 10, And so I just picked him up, put him on my lap, just sat with him, sang him a few songs that meant a lot to me, And we were waiting for my dad to come home because we wanted to go to the vet as a family, And but Buddy had different plans. He started going into diabetic shock, which is just the worst thing to see, especially if it's your dog. He wasn't the family dog; he was my dog, and it was we knew that it was time, and so me and my mom threw clothes on. I was in sweatpants, and actually no, not even sweatpants. I was in my pirate pajamas. I was not ready to go. But it was his time, and so we piled into Mom's Subaru and drove a 20-minute ride to the vet. And during that time, I don't know if you've ever heard a dog cry, but it's the most heartbreaking sound that you can hear. And all I could do was just comfort him while he was having seizures, and it was really hard. And so we got to the vet, and the only time that I wasn't with him was when they were preparing him, calming him down with some medicine before we finally put him down. And they said, "Are you guys ready?" And my dad had just gotten there, and I was like, "Could I have a few more minutes, just me and him?" And so everyone left the room, and I told him all that I could. I told him I loved him so very much, and he was the best friend that I've ever had. He was such a good boy. And after a few minutes of just telling him how much I loved him, I was like, "Okay, I'm ready. You're not. You're never ready when your dog dies." And my childhood best friend Bobby, when he lost his dog, he told me, "Tighe, they go so quickly." And they do. So the nurse came in, and she had the 3 syringes, and one makes them sleepy, the next slows their heartbeat, and then the other one, the last one, stops the heartbeat. And so I had him in my arms, had his head resting right here, and I mean, every time I close my eyes and think about it, I can just see him there. And so When she injected like the last syringe, I whispered in his ear one more time, "Buddy, you're a good boy." And right after I said that, she said, "He's gone." So last thing my dog heard was he was a good boy, which I think is the best send-off you can send for your dog, because, you know, what's a better way than to sum up a dog's life and saying you were a good boy? Because he was a very good boy, and he was my good boy. And most people get their dogs cremated and stuff. But I asked my parents, I'd said this to myself a few months before he passed away. I wanna bury him in our backyard, and I wanna plant a tree over him, a dogwood tree. Because growing up we had a dogwood tree that my parents planted when I was born, and we don't have one at our new house, and I felt really bad about that. And so we got to keep his body, and they prepared it in a nice little box and wrapped him up and stuff, gave him a bath. We buried him in our backyard, and once the snow finally stops, because, you know, New England, we're going to be planting a dogwood tree over. And that's my story, my last good year with Buddy. I'm glad I didn't cry like I normally do.
Can I get a cowbell? Thank you.
Sorry, I was in the bathroom. What's up?
How can you come onto the stage with that kind of cavalier attitude?
Oh.
After that story.
Oh, it was Tighe's story, wasn't it?
This Tighe's story.
Sorry. It's fine.
It's okay, Jordan. You heard plenty of times.
All right. Well, I console Sawyer. Collide your pond for Joan Mann.
Just a few more notes. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out on a Wednesday night. Can we have a round of applause for all of the fish who swam through the aquarium so far tonight? Thank you so much for coming out. So this story is about Michael Dorsey. Not Michael Dorsey, the lead character in the movie Tootsie, the 1982 film. My Michael Dorsey was a real person. And he was one time an actor and a writer and living in New York City. I first met him when I was 12 in junior high school, but I'm getting ahead of myself. That's not actually where the story starts. The story starts when I was about 36, 37 years old, and it starts with a series of very horrible, awful, very bad dates with a guy that I met around the time that I got divorced. And he used to come to me at about 11:30 at night, which is a great time for a date, right? So 11:30 at night, and this particular night, I found out later in the relationship he had been to a strip club before he came. And he must have been feeling guilty about it because he brought a bunch of roses, and he brought me a book. And the roses were really beautiful. I still remember them clearly. They were called Fire and Ice Roses. And they were this beautiful creamy white rose with a red fiery variegated edge. And I made much of the roses. I don't know whether it's a woman thing, but I had this sense that it wasn't a complete dozen, and I counted them, and there were 11 roses. And I know pretty much where the 12th, or the first rose, if you will, went that night. He was I'll just simply refer to him as the player. I won't give him a name because he doesn't deserve one. He was shallow, he was charming, and he made me feel loved in the moment, but he was loyal to no one but himself. I had better taste in men when I was 12 years old. So I made a lot of the roses because they were really beautiful, and then I turned my attention to the book, and it was this book. It was called The Best of American Erotica, 1993. And And there was a bookmark in the book, and he said, "Read me a story." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "There's a bookmark here." I'm not doing this right. There's something wrong. I don't know how it works. Oh, there we go. He said, "Read me a story." And there was a bookmark in the book. And so I said, "Do you want me to read this one?" And he said, "I don't know. Look around. See if you like any of the other titles." And I said, "Okay." And I looked through and I said, "I'll read the one that you picked out." And he said, "Okay." And I started to read, and I said, "Milk" by Michael Dorsey. And he said, "Do you know him?" And I said, "I think I do." I said, "Michael Dorsey was the name of my very first boyfriend. He used to write me love poems and short stories on my grandmother's typewriter back in junior high school." He said, "Look in the back of the book. See if you look in the biographies of the authors, see if it's him." And I looked in the back of the book, and it said Michael Dorsey is an actor and a writer and living in New York City. And so he goes, "Is it him?" I'm like, "I don't know." It could be him. It might be him. There's got to be dozens, if not hundreds, of Michael Dorseys in New York City who are writers and actors. I don't know. And so he said, "Well, read the story and see if you think it's him." So I read the story. And I read it out loud, and I knew it was him. And he said, "Is it him? Is it him?" at the end of the story. And I was thinking back to junior high school. There was this big kid named John Riley, and the girls sat on one side of the lunch table and the boys sat on the other. And I sat next to John Riley. And John Riley was a big bruiser of a kid, even in junior high school. He had to be 6 feet if he was anything. And one day, Michael Dorsey started to verbally match wits with John Riley because he wanted to sit next to me. And I knew that John Riley wanted to kiss me, but I knew that Michael Dorsey really liked me. So the player says to me again, "Is it him? Is it him?" I said, "I think it might be him." And he goes, "Wow, what a coincidence." I'm like, "Yeah." He had invited a rival into the room, and he didn't know it, and I didn't know it at the time. So we finished off our very unfortunate date with an adult sleepover. And as I was going to sleep that night, I turned my back to this very cold man, and I was staring at the roses, and I was thinking about Michael Dorsey and our very first date in junior high school, which consisted of the Creature triple feature in the junior high school auditorium. And Michael Dorsey wore a Dracula cape. It was a big black cape with a red satin lining. And when he put his hand over us and bit me on the neck, I was swept away. And I fell into a fire and ice sleep. And the next morning, early, the player got up to leave. And I was feeling guilty and degraded and lonely, even before he left. And I don't remember Michael Dorsey ever making me feel that way. You know, it's funny, Maya Angelou, the poet, says, "You may not remember what people say, but you'll always remember how they make you feel." And so he was going to leave, and the last thing he said to me before he left was, "So, are you going to call him?" And I was like, "What? Call who?" And he said, "Michael Dorsey, are you going to call him?" And I was like, "Oh, why would I call him? I don't even know his number. And besides, what happened between us was like 18 years ago. It's like, he asked me to marry him 3 times. I said no 3 times. We went to different colleges. I moved on. I assume he moved on. Why would I call him? No, I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to call him. Call him." I said, "Okay." He left. And the only thing that I could think about was, are you going to call him? 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 So I had a house phone. I didn't have a cell phone at that time, even though they were around. But I kept walking by the phone going, there's got to be dozens, there's hundreds of Michael Dorseys in New York City. I can't call hundreds of numbers looking for Michael Dorsey. There's got to be pages of Michael Dorseys in the New York phone book. And I said, well, there's probably only one way to find out. And so I called New York Information, and I said to the operator, could you give me the number of Michael Dorsey, thinking that was a stupid question because there were probably dozens, if not hundreds, pages of Michael Dorseys in the New York phone book. And I sat waiting for the answer, and she said, no, there's only one on the east side and one on the west side. Which one do you want? And I said, I don't know, give me both. So I said, I can call 2 numbers. I can do that. So I called the one on the east side, and it was this young guy's voice, and there was something about on the message machine about a volleyball game, and I'd never known Michael Dorsey to be interested in volleyball, so I thought, that's not my Michael Dorsey. And I said, this is so stupid. I called the one on the west side, and this little old man answered the phone, and he said, hello? And I said, is this Michael Dorsey? Which is the stupidest question of the century, because of course it's Michael Dorsey, but it's not my Michael Dorsey. And he says, why, yes it is. Who's this? And I said, is this the Michael Dorsey, the author of the short story Milk in the Best of American Erotica 1993? And he says, why, yes it is. Who's this? And this familiarity overcame me, and I said, Michael Dorsey, this doesn't sound like you. Do you have a cold? And he said, why, yes, I do. Who is this? And I said, this is Joni Baker. And that was my maiden name. And there was dead silence on the other end of the phone. And he eventually said, to what do I owe the pleasure of this phone call? And I said, well, someone just bought me the book, Best of American Erotica 1993, and I called to congratulate you on your literary success for your first published short story, Milk. And there was dead silence, and I thought, oh my God, this is bad. This is a bad phone call. He thinks I'm pregnant. He thinks I want money. It's bad, 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 bad phone call, bad idea, bad, bad idea. And finally he speaks and he says, Joni Baker, this is the nicest phone call of my life. Now, my reconnection with Michael Dorsey as a friend was one big reason I was able to kick that player to the curb, because I knew that he wanted stuff from me, but I knew that Michael Dorsey really liked me. And as long as there were really Michael Dorseys really existed in the world, there was a better man in my future. And that's the Michael Dorsey story. I'm supposed to introduce the next storyteller, but I know who it is.
Oh, I got it. Don't worry about it. You know exactly who it is. Do you know who it is?
I do. Are you ready for this?
No one's ready for this.
You're not ready for this.
He's been hiding the whole time and no one saw him.
He's been hiding in plain sight.
He might even be on the stage already, but no one knew.
On the drums,
Tim Costa.
Hi everyone, is this a good height? Hi, I'm Tim Costa, you might remember me from that seat. So I'm going to talk about a spooky night, a spookier night than Sawyer's. So, I was driving my girlfriend at the time home, and I'm driving down the road that I live on. You know the road that you live on, it has your house. So, we're driving, and we're about to pass this baseball field. The baseball field is down the street, it's on the street that I live on. And it's owned by these people in the town who are like rich, and they have either 40 kids or 2, and they're all rich because they're rich. And we're driving, and up ahead we see a pair of headlights, and that's normal, there's always headlights. And they look like they're uphill, and the headlights just go like this, and then they go and then they disappear. Now, headlights don't always do that. In fact, I've never seen that happen. They don't lose any luminosity. They look exactly like headlights, even though they go like that and then go away. Like, not like they're turning, they're still head on. So that's bizarro. And my girlfriend says, Mothman. And I say, that's an interesting thesis. I like what you're thinking, but it's not Mothman. That's just the aliens. So that's my first brush with the aliens. Now, ever since then, there's been weird shit going on at that road. I don't know why, but there's something going on there, and it has to do with Jeeps. Okay? So one day I'm passing by the baseball field, and there's a game going on. There's kids hitting things, I presume. And all of a sudden, 3 Jeeps, all the same color, all the same model, they look identical, leave at the same time. That's weird. The only possible real explanations I have are there's a family that owns a Jeep dealership, and they were like, you know what would be cute? If we took 3 identical cars from the lot, went to the game, and then left at the same time. Or 3 people at the game were like, hey, what's up? I'm Todd. And like, oh, hi Todd, I drive a green Jeep. And Todd was like, me too? And then a third person heard them and was like, are you guys talking about green Jeeps? Because have I got news for you. But that doesn't make sense either, because it was the aliens. And then another time I'm driving by that road and there's a silver Jeep behind me. And there's nowhere for it to turn except for the baseball field. And all of a sudden I look in my rearview mirror, it's not there anymore. So that's weird. And then I look up ahead, and out of this random driveway, a silver Jeep that looks just like that one pulls in front of me. So that's weirder. And so the gears are starting to turn. I'm seeing the pattern. Everyone who drives a Jeep is an alien. You might say, I know someone who drives a Jeep. They're not an alien. And I'd say, you're wrong. And so I started digging deeper. I had to get closer to this secret. And I do some research, and someone tells me, Tim, everyone who drives a Jeep waves at other Jeep drivers. That's fucked up. When I see someone with black pants, I'm not like... So that's weird. So that doesn't mean that everyone who drives a Jeep is an alien, even though they are. It could just mean that the first person to ever drive a Jeep was an alien. They come out with this hot new car, they go up to their human friend, who's their confidant, and they say, I've got this new car, I want you to sell it, but here's the thing. I'm an alien, and I need you to tell everyone to wave when they see a car that looks like mine, so I know I'm in safe company. He's like, well, I can only tell the people who buy your car, because those are the only people I talk to. I'm a hermit. And so he's like, fine, just tell anyone who buys one of these dumb things to wave at me if they see me in mine. And so that's how it starts. But then I got a deeper idea. Maybe it's not aliens. It is, but it's not. And so I thought, well, what else does a wave symbolize? A wave can be hello. A wave can also be a hand signal to signify that you're part of a group. So I'm thinking, okay, what are groups? I'm like, there's Masons, Freemasons, non-Freemasons, and anarchists. Those are the 4. So I'm thinking, all right, that could make sense. They see another Jeep, they go, and that's how they know, we're gonna bring them down, buddy. For those of you who don't know, anarchists are weirdos who believe that there should be no government. They're like libertarians, but somehow worse. And so, I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense. And then I get the idea in my head. I think about all the political spectrums out there. Left, right, middle, far left, farther left, me. And then I think, okay, what do they all agree on? What's the one thing that the governments have in common? And that's roads. There's no system of government that's like, all right, we can take away the guns, we can take away the babies, but we can't take away the roads. Except for one, and that's anarchists. And there's one thing that Jeeps do that other cars do not. They go off-road.
Thanks for that, sir. Hey, my pants, you and me. My mom drives a Jeep, so I gotta give her a phone call later. So we got 3 stories left, and the next story is by a guy who, it's his first year, or semester at UMass Dartmouth. Fun fact, he came to our very first meeting, just blew our expectations away, and we're going to get him up here. Another fun fact is I saw him that day, but he showed up 3 hours early into the meeting. Just sat outside, and I didn't know what he was doing, but then he came to be like one of my favorite performers here. So give it up for James Sturgis.
Hey everybody, how you doing? So this is a story about brotherhood, success, and petty theft. So my family does a lot of boating. They always have, for basically as long as I can remember. My family and I have been going every summer, and we've just been boating around the islands, around southern Massachusetts, Block Island, Martha's Vineyard. And we would always end the summer the same way at this one island called Cuttyhunk. Now, for those of you who don't know what Cuttyhunk is, that's understandable, because Cuttyhunk is a very small island right off, a few miles off Martha's Vineyard, and only 20 people live there year-round. It's very small. And we would always go there at the end of the summer, at the end of the trip, and it would really round everything off, because Cuttyhunk was a great place to go, because there's no cell signal. It was really small, very quaint. There's one restaurant, and there's only one one market, which is really more of a general store. And we would go there, and always during the summer we'd boat with our friends around the neighborhood, one of which was my best friend, and his name is Graham. And for as long as I can remember, again, we would just do things together. And I consider him my brother, because we grew up together. When I was 1 year old, I reached into his birthday cake before he blew out the candles and stuffed a frosting rose into my mouth. And we just blossomed from that ever since. So, the first time we went to Cuttyhunk, I think I was 8 or 9 years old. And he was right there with me, 8 or 9 years old. And we just decided to get off the boat. New place, we decided to explore, so we walked around the island, and there's not much to see because the island's really small. And basically, where you keep your boat, the marina where you keep your boat, you walk up the road maybe about half a mile, and then you get to the town center, or the island center, where all the roads meet in one spot. And there's this bulletin board in the town center, and it tells you like what's going on, some news, and a map of nothing because there are only 2 roads on the island. And one thing that we noticed as soon as we got on this island was underneath this bulletin board was this big wooden fish. It was about 3 feet long, painted red, and it said in all caps, in yellow letters, pizza. It had an arrow pointing down one road. And I knew, and Graham and I, it's amazing, we're on the same wavelength. We knew immediately, from the moment we saw it, we had to take that fish. We needed it. So we looked at each other and we were like, okay, so when's it going to be? When are we going to pull off the heist? So we decided, we figured, again, 8 or 9 years old, we were still afraid of getting in trouble. We didn't want to get caught by our parents, because that would mean, that would be terrible. So we planned. And about, I want to say 5 years pass, and we're 14 years old. And we're like, okay, it's been long enough. We've been waiting long enough. It's time to do it. So, the end of the summer comes around. We're maybe right in, I want to say freshmen in high school. And then we decide, we're like, okay, this is the year we're going to get the fish. But like I said, we would boat with a lot of the families in our neighborhood. And one of those families had 3 daughters. And one of those daughters was older than us. One of those daughters was about our age, and the last daughter was much younger than us, around the age where you would tattle on everything, or where if you saw something going wrong, you'd tell your parents. Can't keep a secret. And she caught wind of our scheme. She found out that we were going to steal the fish. So we figured, we can't steal it because they're going to tell our parents, and again, we're going to get in trouble, and that's not good. So we don't do it that year. And then about 3 more years pass. We're 17. Graham and I, we're at the point where we're like, okay, come on. This has been going on long enough. It's time to take the fish. So we're like, this is it. We're going to be in college in the next couple of years. I'm going to want a fish in my dorm room. I want you to have a fish in your dorm room. And I want to look at that fish and every time think about this endeavor that we've gone through, wanting to take this fish. So we decide to do it. So we wait until about 3 in the morning. And again, we spend a few days in Cutty Hunk, but this is the very last day we're there. So we know if we take the fish this night, we'll put it in our boat, and then we're leaving in the morning. So we don't have to, we'll just escape the scene of the crime, so no one can catch us. So we wait till 3 in the morning. We dress in all black. We get out of our boats. And I just want to say, at this time, I don't know if any of you know the game Fallout 3. All right, it's a role-playing video game. All right, so we knew we were taking the fish. We didn't really have a problem with crime, but we knew that what we were doing was inherently wrong. So we figured it'd be good. It would help us along the way. It'd make us feel better about committing this crime if we do something in the game that we liked. So it's a role-playing game, then there's a karma system. So every time you do something good, you hear like these nice wind chimes, and you gain karma. Every time you do something bad, like steal or kill someone, you hear like this psycho noise, and it's really bad. And it tells you, it makes you feel bad because you know you just did something bad. So we figured when we take the fish, we're gonna make the bad karma noise. Because Graham and I together, we have played a certifiably unhealthy amount of Fallout. So we walk to the center of town. We're dressed in all black. We get to the metal. We get to where all the roads cross. We see the bulletin board and we look right underneath it. And the fish isn't there. And this is the first time in 9 years that the fish hasn't been there. And we don't know what to do. We're like, well, all right, hold on, wait. So the fish isn't here, we gotta steal something. So we follow down the road, we go down the road to the pizza, the restaurant. And now I say restaurant, I wanna clarify, it's more like someone's house. Again, this island is really small. It's someone's house, they make pizzas out of their garage. And they have in their front yard just a couple of picnic tables, just where you can eat. So we walk maybe about half a mile down the road until we get to that restaurant. And then they have like a seashell driveway. I'm just gonna build the scene. They have a seashell driveway and then they have their house. And then it's maybe about 50 feet to their house. So we're looking around, we're looking for the pizza fish, because that's what we came for, that's what we want. So we're walking on someone else's property on their driveway, and then we get about maybe 20 feet down and we see it. Right there in the dark, and we're like, okay, there it is. So let's get it. So we go up and we get up to it, we're about to take it, and then I see maybe about 10 feet down that driveway, I see another. So there are 2 pizza fish. And all this time, we weren't prepared for 2. We never knew there were 2. So, and this is just a testament to Graham and I's relationship. We look at each other, we're on the same wavelength. I'm like, Graham, there's 2 fish. We gotta take the second fish. He's like, oh, we're absolutely gonna take the second fish. Without a doubt. It didn't really have to be said, and especially since it was 3 o'clock in the morning and we were trespassing, but I go maybe 10 feet farther down the road, so we're 20 feet from the house. He's on his fish, I'm on my fish. We reach down, we're ready to make the noise, and all of a sudden on the house, a light turns on, a spotlight, and it's shining on us. And we don't know what to do. So we're thinking, we don't want to look up, we don't want to make eye contact with whoever's up there. We grab the fish, and then we run off. And then he goes, we both meet at the end of their driveway, we run down the road, we're not looking back, we don't want to know what it was, we don't want to know who saw us. And so we get the fish together, wrap him in a towel, put it in the back of his backpack. He ends up hiding the fish in his engine room, in his boat. And we don't tell anybody about it. So we didn't want anyone to catch wind, have our parents find out. Even though we're 17, at this point we're like, yeah, who cares what our parents think? So I didn't know we did such a good job hiding this, and this is actually something I found out when I told my parents I would be telling this story on stage. I said, oh, I would be telling the pizza fish story for this event called Aquarium. And my parents told me, they looked at me with like a puzzled look, they were like, what's the pizza fish story? And then I was like, you know, when I took the fish with Graham. And they're like, what fish? And I'm like, you don't, oh, well. And so I had to break the news to my parents right then and there that I had stolen a fish about 3 years before. on our favorite island on our at the end of our vacation, and it was really fun and it was really good. But you know, it was just a moment. It was a nice bonding moment for me and my friend. I still have the fish. My friend still has the fish. He has it in his dorm room, and I know this is a very important event for Fishbowl, and I know it's very special, so I wanted to make it very special. And I want you guys to believe me about this story. So, I brought something for you guys to see. And there it is.
$1. See, I've also been to Cuttyhunk. I remember that pizza fish.
See, that's another thing. That's another thing I was worried about because we are pretty close to Cuttyhunk. Like, Dartmouth is very close to Westport, which you can see Cuttyhunk from Horseneck Beach. So I figured I'm kind of taking this thing very close to where it was stolen from. And many of you have probably been to Cuttyhunk. So I don't know if you've been there in the past 3 years, but, you know.
I have. I noticed pizza fish was missing.
Keep your mouth shut about it. All right, guys. So, yeah, basically, yeah, that's my story about the time that me and my friend just gave in to kleptomania and stole something we liked. So thank you guys very much.
All right, well, you know what they say about fish. Our next speaker will be a man that I admire for many reasons, but one of the reasons is he has a luscious full beard that I wish I could grow, but I cannot. So, without further ado, Eric Sousa. Thank you.
All right. All right, that's perfect. All right. So, by the way, I just want to say, James, that was a great story. You know, you're very tall, you're lovely, you're handsome, but you can't grow a beard, so fuck you. All right. So, this is a story about one of my close friends, Jackie. This is what happens if you are trying to have sex with one of my friends. One of my friends says, no thank you, and you decide to be a complete creep about it and keep going for it. Fucking don't, because I'll show up and I'll make your day way worse, and I will take that experience with me the rest of my life and make fun of you on stage to strangers. So this happened a few months ago. I got a call from my friend Jackie, and I haven't talked to her in a really long time because she was in a rocky place in her relationship, so she was trying to fix whatever was going on there. And when I finally got the phone call to go out and like reconnect, I was like, oh, that's great, I get to have an old friend back. And as soon as I get to the bar, I call her, let her on there, and I'm like, oh, by the way, just so you know, there's a guy here that I met at work, and I think you're really gonna like him. And I was immediately like, I'm not gonna like him, because nothing against him, but anybody after a serious relationship is a rebound. And I'm sure you all know what a rebound is. You've lived. And so I was like, nothing to him, but he's probably not as amazing as she's making him out to be. She's probably overhyping it for herself, and I came in guarded. And I'm happy I did so, because the minute I walked in, I saw Jackie, and I was like, oh, it's good to see you. And I see him, and like, she must have hyped me up to him too, because the minute he sees me, he's like, hey! And he starts coming up to me, he's like, what's up, buddy? I'm Mr. Rebound. And I was like, oh, nice to meet you. And he's like, oh, how's the drive here, okay? And I said like something like 1% funny, and he was like, oh, we're gonna be best friends, man. We're not. We're definitely not. So we sit down, we all start catching up with each other. This guy's really intent on impressing me for some reason, and so he's just talking to me way more than I want him to, and he tells me so much about his life. And I'm like, you know what? He has a hateable face, but maybe he's not so bad. Let me actually give him a shot. And that's when he decided to go, yeah, I'm in a Fall Out Boy cover band, except I like to do all the songs Screamo. And if you don't know what that is, then good. And I was me like, nope, confirmed. This man is just hateable through and through. And I'm just like, all right, I can't wait for this phase to be over, and because this is bad. And I'm like, I can't wait to get the hell out of here now. And around the end of the night, we were there for a couple hours. He comes over and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna do some shots on me. Don't worry, guys. And he walks off. It wasn't that impressive. It was $1 Jello shot night, and there were 5 of us. So he's not like a big spender. And I leaned into Jackie and I'm like, hey, I'm probably gonna get out of here. I don't want to do shots with Fall Out Boy. And she was like, no, please stay. I just wanted to say that recently, like, I haven't been really like feeling it, and he always like makes me like feel bad when like I don't want to like have him sleep over. And I figured if you were there as a buffer, like he wouldn't be like that. And I was like, say no more. I'll be there. For 2 reasons. 1, common decency. Like, if someone feels uncomfortable, fucking stay with them. And 2, if I had any capability of making this guy's day even a little bit worse, oh, that's a gift. So I seized that. And we go back to our house, and we're all just standing there talking. He's telling me about his favorite Fall Out Boy songs. I'm waiting for him to shut the fuck up for a minute. And about half an hour later, I'm like, oh, I'm really tired. How about you, Jackie? And she's like, I'm fine. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, me too, man. You can get out of here if you want to. And I was like, what the fuck? How did this get turned on me? I'm not the one that has to go. And then he goes to the bathroom, and I lean to Jackie. I'm like, all right, I'll probably get out of here then. She's like, wait, why? I was like, you just said you wanted to stay up. She was like, no, I just don't want to be rude to him, but please stay until he leaves. I was like, Jackie, I can't carry the whole team. I need you to also tell me that you want him gone. And she's like, fine. So he comes back. We wait another half hour of him telling us about Fall Out Boy. And I try it again. I'm like, oh man, I'm really tired now. Because it really is like 2 in the morning. And I'm not old to the point where 2 in the morning makes me want to go to bed. But it makes me to the point where like I'm aware that I have to be up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm aware that I'm going to be groggy till 11. And I'm aware I'm going to be cranky. And I just want to avoid it. So I'm just like, I'm trying to wrap this shit up. So I go, oh, I'm really tired. And I look at Jackie, like, oh, you're going to be a team member. And she's just drunk, because she just keeps taking shots. And she just looks at this guy and goes, you know, you have stinky feet. And I was like, that is not the assistance I was expecting. What do I do with that? First off, I will never use that, so thank you for that fact. And 2, we're right where we started. So like half an hour goes by, he goes to the bathroom again, he has a tiny bladder. And I'm like, Jackie, the fuck? Like, help me out here. And she's like, okay, fine, you're right, it's getting too late. He comes back, it's like 3 in the morning, and I throw all of it against the wall, because I'm like, I don't want to be polite anymore, I don't want to try to be like a good guy about it, I just want him gone so I can nap. So I'm like, man, I can't wait to go home and be in my bed and sleep alone. And I stare at Jackie, and she's like, yeah, I can't wait to be in my bed alone. And we both kind of look at him for like, now you say your part. And he goes, yeah, I'm tired too. And he just jumps into her bed. Yeah, I know, dick. And I look at Jackie, and she's all crestfallen. And I look at him, and he's like all like smuggling in, like he's holding a pillow, like he feels like he won. And I just hit the fuck it button. I was like, nope, not happening. I was like, hey, push on over, man, I'm jumping in too. And I jump into bed right next to him. And he doesn't like it immediately. He's like, what the fuck? But remember, we're best friends, so he can't say anything about it. So he's like, oh, hey, buddy. And I was like, hey, man, push over. I want to get closer to you. And I started etching towards him. And he's like, don't get the... And I'm like, come on. I just keep moving towards him. And at this point, he's pressed up to the wall, and I'm there too. And I'm just staring at him with a big shit-eating grin, how's your night going, man? And he's like, I love you, bro, but this is a little close. And I was like, hey, it gets worse. And I just look at him, and a couple seconds go by, and I'm like, he's gonna break. He doesn't break. I'll give it to that. He held on to being a douchebag, and he held out. And I was like, okay, I need to step it up a notch. I was like, quick. What can I use to make him feel uncomfortable enough to where he'll leave? And I remember what Jackie had said earlier, and I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do with that? And then it hit me. I just lean in, real slow, and I go, hey man, is it true that you have stinky feet? And he was like, what? And I was like, dude, let me smell your feet. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, come on, man. And he's like, why? I was like, I'm just curious. He's like, bro, do you have a foot fetish? I was like, no. No. It's nothing weird about it. It's just bros and toes. I was like, come on, it's just bros and toes, man. Come on, dude, come on, let me find out. Please. And he's like, no. I was like, I'll find out. And I fucking get up, and I run to the foot of the bed, and I'm like, give me a feet. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm like, come on. I'm reaching for him, and he's trying to pull him back, but it's a twin bed, so I can easily reach him. So I'm pulling him by the ankle, and he's like, come on, buddy. And I'm just pulling towards him, get the fuck off of me. And I'm going for it. I'm like taking his toes up, like his socks off. I'm like, boop, 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 boop. And like the sock's about half off. I can see like his heel, and he just goes, fuck it, fine. And he storms off. He goes downstairs, and he sleeps on the couch. And I'm like, good enough. And I ended up sleeping like on the floor in her room just in case he ended up being creepy and coming back up because, yeah, fuck that guy. So the moral of the story is if you're going to make one of my friends feel uncomfortable, be ready for it to get weird because I'm coming for you, bitch.
Thank you, Eric. An absolute fucking unit, right? All right, everyone. We have one final story. So I'm finna try to say goodnight. Thank you all for coming. If you like Aquarium, Fishbowl's a little shorter. It's every Tuesday, 6:30, CVPA 352. The next topic coming up this upcoming Tuesday is Under Pressure. So if you want to listen to stories about it, if you want to tell stories about it, come on down. It's going to be a good time. Without further ado, let's listen to a story about being 11 years old. A big round of applause for Michael Kilbride.
Hey everyone, my name is Mike Kilbride. Really good story for you tonight, but before we start, a lot of you might have already noticed this because it's kind of obvious, but I need everyone to look under their seats. Alright, I'm kidding, bad joke. Alright, let's move on. I was kind of expecting someone to look. Moving on. Here's a story about when I was in middle school. I was with my good friend, Tom Gino. Best friend, love you, Tom. And yeah. And we're hanging out. It's a little past my bedtime, Rebel, what is it, like 7:30 on a Friday. And Tom and I are playing RuneScape, because that's what we did. That's what we do. And we're sitting there, I'm farming some spiders, getting some XP. And Tom, in all his wisdom, he looks over to me and he says, yo, hey dude, you know, if you, on a house phone, a landline, call 911, it won't actually call 911 unless you hit send. And I'm like, no way, that's amazing. I never knew that. He's like, yeah, dude, watch. And he picks up the phone, and he goes, 911. And we just start laughing, as if that's the entire joke. What are we gonna do? 911, what is your emergency? He hangs up the phone. And I'm like, what happened? And he's like, I think that was 911. And I'm like, well, yeah. You called 911, and he's like, but that's how it was supposed to. The phone rings, and we're like, we look at each other, we're like, am I? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm still playing RuneScape. He goes over, and Tom picks up the phone, right? And he goes, hello? 911, what is your emergency? He hangs up the phone. And I'm like, what's happening, dude? Is this 911? He's like, I don't know, man, I'm bugging out. I'm freaking out. So now we're pacing the room. We're trying to figure out, like, what? They're just going to keep calling us, man. They got our number. We're on the grid. They're going to figure us out. We're going to get caught. We're going to go to jail. I just want to play RuneScape. The phone rings. And he's like, he's in the corner at this point. I'm like, it's your turn, dude. You got to do this. I'm like, why is this my problem, dude? Why is this my fault? So I'm like, you're such an idiot, Tom. Come on. And I go to the phone, and I'm like, you're such a baby. Hello? 911, what is your emergency? I hang up the phone. And he's like, right? I'm like, okay, I feel it. I'm like, all right, we got a plan. They're gonna keep calling us, man. What are we gonna do about this? And he's like, okay, I have a plan. I'll pick it up next time. I'll figure everything out. I'm like, dude, you gotta do this quick, man. They're gonna probably send a car. They're gonna send a cop on us. And the phone rings, of course. And we got this. Tom picks up the phone. Hello? 911, what is your emergency? Officer, there's no problem. I'm really sorry. We didn't mean to. Who's this? Who's talking? He goes, my name is Mike Kilbride. What? And he's like, and he hangs up the phone. And I'm like, what it's a home phone, it's your house, they probably got it synced up. They probably know, oh, that address, that phone number, we got it. That's the Kilbride residence. They're looking for a Kilbride. I'm like, that's not how that works. And I'm like, but I figured it out, right? I got it all under control. The phone rings. And I'm like, well, shoot. And I pick up the phone. Tom's back to freaking out again. And I'm like, oh my God, this is way longer and way bigger of a deal than it had to be. I pick up the phone and I'm like, hello? And 911, what's going on? And I'm like, there's nothing. I'm so sorry. My friend's an idiot. I'm really sorry that any of this happened. Have a good night. Who's this? Because it's a different voice. It's a different voice. So I look at Tom and I'm like, my name is Tom Giannino. And I'm like, I can play this off. And he's like, Tom Giannino, can you spell your last name, please? Because I can't. Tom Giannino, the most Italian guy I know. And I go, oh, Tom, buddy, how do you spell your last name? He's like, oh shoot, like it's a G-I-A-A-N. Son, why is the person in the background telling you how to spell your last name? I hang up the phone. We can't do it, we're screwed, we're going to jail, it's over. What are we gonna do? And I'm like, okay, it's time to get an adult because we need an adult right now. Again, it's 7:30 on a Friday, so I have to go into my mom's room and wake her up. I'm like, Mom? But you know, I'm like 11. I'm like, Mom, it's not a big deal. Nothing's happening. She's like, what happened? I'm like, no, it's not a big deal. That's what I said. And I started to explain to her, and I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal. We called 911, but we figured it out. Charles in the other room. Mike, what? There's a cop car out front. Oh! And then my mom's like, what? It's like, yeah, so we called. She's like, get out of my way. I'm like, no, Mom, you just gotta listen for a second. Like, no, it's over. I'm gonna go figure this out. We're going to jail. This is it. I just want to play RuneScape. We walk downstairs. Silver lining, my mom is a paramedic. She's an EMT, emergency medical technician. And so she knows all the cops. She's friends with all the firefighters. They're all just kind of a unit. They all get along. Thank God. My mom, still in like her slippers, she walks outside and she's like, Jerry? Pam, what's up? It's the police officer. And they totally know each other. Oh, Jerry, how are the kids? What's going on? It's like, oh, I'm here because of some 911 call. She's like, about that. And Tom and I were just kind of like, man, I don't know about this. I don't really, you know. It's like, everything's fine. And Jerry, the police officer, was like, oh, okay, I just want to talk to him. And we're like, we didn't mean anything by it. And we're there, we're about yay big. This is real. And we explain ourselves. I'm so sorry. Tom's wearing his Dare shirt. Like, this is, like, what's the epitome of we're not troublemakers? That was us. I'm just sitting there like, what, we didn't mean to, and we're good. And he's like, okay, scamp, you have a good night. And I'm like, oh. So that was an experience, and I just wanted to say, before I close the night, Giannino. Have a good night, everybody.